Dear colleagues, good afternoon. My name is Bernarda Mrak. I'm Doctor of Dental Medicine, and today I will be giving you my part of history of dental medicine. I'm right now in Zagreb, where I'm doing my specialization, and due to this reason, I'm unable to be in Rijeka. The relationship between dentistry and medicine has been acknowledged through the history of humanity. The relationship was documented in Asian medicine accounts and has survived until the present day. The interrelation between dentistry and medicine has been documented through the history. In the past, where the knowledge of health science was very poor and where people had to survive epidemics of infectious diseases, oral health was far from a priority. It is considered that the history of dentistry is as old as a history of medicine, but it did not develop with the same dynamics. Dentistry among the Asian people of Egypt, Babylon, China, and India was considered an equally legal specialist branch of medicine. So the doctors at that time already connected dental diseases with the pathological events in the entire organism. We also know that Hippocrates Galen Avicenna also wrote very affirmatively about this. We will see in this lecture how our profession was limited and it has been involved in surgery for centuries. In the Middle Ages, we will see significant stagnation and due to the lack of the intellectual and technical strength. Fortunately, with the arrival of Renaissance, Baroque, and Rationalism, the profession flourished again. In the presentation, we have a great contribution of Ambroise Paré and Pierre Fauchard, who illuminated our profession again and set some new epochal achievements for that time. And we will also mention them. And we will say something about the modern medicine and how the development of dentistry has progressed in our region up to the present day. This slide represents decoration of teeth among the Phoenicians, and the area of their settlement, Etruria, was actually located today in modern Tuscany and part of Umbria in the 8th century before Christ. They dominated the Mediterranean area around Italy in the 8th century before Christ, as I said, and they were very intelligent and resourceful. They traveled a lot and always spread their knowledge, especially in medicine and dentistry. Archaeological remains confirm that appearance was extremely important to them, and therefore they were the first to provide the basis for the development of aesthetic dentistry as well as the prosthesis. On the other remains of other jaw that archaeologists have found, it was seen that gold bands were wrapped around the teeth and they were fastened with the hot objects. And also at that time, they were using animal and human teeth. They were used as a replacement for their missing teeth, which were also connected to the remaining teeth. This slide represents medieval dental medicine and performances in the squares. We know today that in the Middle Ages, dental medicine was quite primitive, primarily relying on barbers and quacks who performed painful procedures. Usually, they were doing tooth extractions without anesthesia, and they were doing all these procedures in town squares. Performances related to dental practices would attract curious people, and they were often showcasing the tools and demonstrating procedures as a form of advertisement. Toothaches were treated with herbal remedies, prayers, or simply by pulling the tooth, and preventive methods were very rare or non-existent. The first female dentist born in 19th century, actually exactly in 1803, was Amalia Surs. She was Sweden dentist, and she learned dentistry from her father, also a dentist, and she continued his work after his death. In 1852, she became the first woman who that was allowed to practice dentistry in Sweden, and the first one in Europe. After the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, we all know for the Battle of Waterloo, and the teeth of dead soldiers were collected, and they were using them for making high quality dentures for the wealthy people, and those dentures were known as the Waterloo dentures. And these were very valued because real human teeth looked and functioned better than artificial materials at that time. And this practice highlights the limited dental resources. Where are we actually going in dentistry today? Dentistry is moving toward minimally invasive and preventive care, focusing on preserving natural teeth and oral health through advanced materials, through dental digital tools, personalized treatments, innovations like 3D printing, regenerative techniques, and AI driven diagnostics. And additionally, there is also growing emphasis on the connection between oral and overall health, with dental professionals playing a key role in early detection of dental issues. And we also know for the biggest fair in dentistry that is happening every 2 years. And next year he is going to be in Keln. Actually, every year is in the same city, but next year is going to be in Keln in month of May. In March, I'm sorry. So why do we have to learn the history and why it is so important for us? We also know already know from the Cicerone proverb that history is a teacher of our life. But history is also important because all the efforts of our ancestors and their achievements in the history and interventions and mistakes gave us the basis for the development of today's dental medicine, which consists of incredible achievements and technologies. And through the various achievements of our ancestors, we can reach the essence of certain theories, see their efforts, and thoughts in creating inventive solutions. And thinking about the history of our profession leads us to a deeper understanding of progress, controversial situation, and development as we know them today. Also, one very interesting part of the history that I would like to highlight for you is a story about the Ignaz Semmelweis. He was known as a man who discovered that the washing hands can save lives. And there is also one film about him you can take and watch. He was a Hungarian doctor, and about his discovery I already told you, and but he significantly reduced deadly puerperal fever among new mothers by just washing hands with soap and chlorine. While working in Vienna in 1846, he noted that women treated by male doctors had a higher death rate than those attended by midwives. And his hygiene practice drastically lowered mortality, but his peers rejected his findings. And he was at the end very exhausted and isolated and died in asylum in 1865. But today we know for the Semmelweis effect, which symbolized the resistance to new ideas that contradict established beliefs. What are the interventions in dental medicine that were discovered 100 years ago and that we still have in our practice? And you can still see on university. This is Maryland Bridge. You already know because you are working in clinical practice right now. But the idea, it was actually an idea stolen by two colleagues. They were professors from Maryland University, and they after published it as a part of their university work. But the main idea was a work of dentist Holber, to whom a patient came because he wanted a different prosthetic solution that he wanted to have. Another great invention is made by Robert Richter in 1892. And after his return from America, he was thinking about improving the cement material, and he made the discovery of zinc oxyphosphate cement that we use for cementation of metal ceramic, and the discovery of reversible hydrocolloids that was in 1937. What are the interventions in dental history that changed our practice? I only highlighted some of them, and what was for me the most important, the first thing is the anesthetic. In the 19th century, dentistry experienced several revolutionary discoveries. But in 1844, Dr. Horace Wells discovered the anesthetic properties of nitrous oxide, that was commonly known as a laughing gas, and with this he revolutionized pain management during dental procedures. Another great invention is made by George Fellow Green, and his invention of dental drill. And third invention is the 19th century that brought us new introduction of dental schools and formal education, and the rise of dental care and professionalism. The oldest records of dentistry date approximately 9,000 years. The earliest known evidence of a dental procedure was found in Neolithic remains from Pakistan, where holes in teeth were made with a tool resembling a drill, suggesting an attempt to treat dental issues. Additionally, fossilized teeth around 14,000 years ago found in Italy show signs of caries being scraped with a stone tool. These examples indicate that basic forms of dental care existed even in prehistoric communities. Paleodontology is actually a discipline that studies ancient teeth and the dental health of fossilized remains of humans and animals. Through tooth analysis, paleodontologists investigate dietary habits, health conditions, living environments, and species evolution over millennia. Teeth are often the best preserved parts of fossils due to their durability, allowing available and valuable insights into the history of diseases like caries, periodontitis, and trauma, as well as jaw development and dietary changes over evolutionary time. Paleodontology aids in understanding the lives of ancient population and their adoption through history. It is a subset field of forensic odontology, and results that are actually obtained from collection. From data collection, give us and provide us information about, as I said, nutrition, type of food, reconstruction of life, and the methods that are used in the paleontology research use the same methods that are today available in forensic dentistry, but with a different interpretation of the results regarding certain archaeological frameworks. How Neanderthals actually fed during their period of time, researchers gave us the answer, and they showed in scientific investigation. And they said that each belonging to a particular geographic region has its own characteristic diet. And they found out through the DNA analysis of plaque that reveals that Neanderthals in today's Belgium were predominantly carnivores, and they were eating wild sheep and mammoths, while others that were situated on site in Spain in El Cidrón, they were established predominantly by they were taking predominantly a vegetarian diet, like moss and mushrooms, especially vegetation that is rich in soil of penicillium fungus, that is natural antibiotic. Another scientific work that we have from our, let's say, area, from Krapina, is made by David Fryer. He discovered that grooves in Neanderthals' teeth suggests an attempt to relieve toothache. And he also said that peoples from Krapina, Neanderthals from Krapina, also were suffering from such severe dental pain that they use some instruments that they have at their time to push that tooth that was hurting them. So they were doing it so hard, so they left some grooves on the surrounding teeth, and they were investigated those findings. What we know today is that taurodontism is presenting morphoanatomical tooth change that occurs in the period of embryogenesis. And taurodontism is named by Sir Arthur Keith in 1913, and it represents a rare tooth anomaly with a large pulp chambers, with shortened roots, with no enamel cementum constriction, and it results from a delay in Hertwig's epithelial sheath development. It is found mostly in permanent molars, and it can occur alone or in syndromes due to the X chromosome anomalies. Taurodont teeth appear normal clinically, but are detected by X-ray, as you can see here, and they're complicated dental endodontic treatment due to their structure. Historical and archaeological data show that the development of dental medicine and medicine in general began in ancient China, Egypt, India, Central Italy, Japan, and Greece. By researching and studying mummies, archaeologists have come to many insights related to Egyptian dental medicine of that period. The ancient Egyptians were very comfortable with, and they were very knowledgeable about the human body. And the ancient inhabitants of Egypt suffered from dental disease like us. Their diet was full of fibers and raw vegetables, but beside poor dental hygiene, caused various oral diseases, including periodontitis and caries. And they also tried to treat diseases by medical practices. And dental surgery was invented and actively exploited medicines offered by nature. As old as um, mm, they also started with minor work performance, and slowly over time it grows to be very complex procedures when we are speaking about dental surgery procedure and surgery in general. Hieroglyphs, inscriptions on Egyptian tombs and monuments have revealed details about the occupation of the deceased, including some of the medical of dental titles. Out of around 150 known ancient Egyptian medical personnel, only 9 are identified as dentists, and with 2 main titles. One the one who are concerned with teeth, and other who are dealing with teeth, possibly indicating different duties or ranks. The highest dental title appeared to be chief dentist of the palace. The earliest record dentist in the world, Hesire, who lived around 2,600 years before the Christ, was both the chief of dentists and chief of physician, and holding various religious and secular titles. Other dentists who held multiple titles, they were suggesting they were doing some ceremonial roles or some other tasks. What is also very interesting is that before modern dentistry, people believed that cavities were caused by worms inside the teeth, and the theory was widely accepted all around the world. For thousands of years, the concept had survived until the Pierre Fauchard, who completely changed this theory. And there were numerous theories on the appearance of tooth worms. And the tooth worm was thought responsible for a variety of ills, most notably toothache caused by caries. Numerous remedies were also used in popular medicine to remove the tooth worm. And there were some magical formulas and oaths in addition to which allowed the tooth worm to develop in the form of burst seed. However, advances in dental medicine have demonstrated that tooth worm do not exist. But that advancement happened in the 16th, 17th century. The oldest recorded record of dental disease belongs to Sumerian culture. The Sumerians believed that worms in a teeth dig and eat the tooth. The Assyrians and Babylonians knew the morphology of teeth and anatomy. The theory of tooth-eating worm was also held by Chinese. And Chinese people, they had their canon of medicine from around 2000 years before Christ. And it shows that gum disease in ancient China was treated with teas and rinsings, but also with acupuncture. At that time, they know 26 points on the body where acupuncture needles should be stabbed in a case of toothache. Asian Japanese dental medicine was also similar to Chinese. Japanese were known as the masters of digital tooth extractions, and they extracted teeth with their fingers without any instruments. Hippocratic school in 5th century before Christ bases all pathological changes in the body on humoral pathology. And the school believes that dental malfunction is due to the action of fruit and juices, rare mucosus, and excessive food intake. From the time and from the ancient time that we know, there are some laws, like the Code of Hammurabi, that testifies the dental practice was regulated by laws. The laws of King Hammurabi, who was responsible for the lack of surgical development, brought also social and legal responsibilities to doctor for the first time. Among those rules that reach us today is an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. And in this code, he said that if a person has damaged the tooth of another person from the same social class, then his tooth should be removed. However, if he damaged the tooth of another person of lower social class, he was fined with 166 grams of silver. Ancient Egypt developed a large, diverse, and very diverse medical tradition. Egyptian medicine dealt with the supernatural and developed a significant practical application of medicine in the field of anatomy and public health. It is important that the art of medicine in ancient Egypt was especially important, and the success of which was always enthusiastically witnessed by numerous philosophers. Egyptian medical activity was far beyond its time, and it included from simple non-invasive bone adjustments to an extensive and rich pharmacological approach. Egyptian medical thinking and therapeutic approaches would later significantly affect ancient Greek medicine. The most important and significant papers from that time of ancient Egypt that speak of the medicine of that period are two papers that I mentioned, and the first one is Edwin Smith Papyrus. He was named after the buyer who bought it, representing the oldest document found, and the other is Ebers Papyrus. Edwin Smith Papyrus is actually an ancient textbook, almost completely devoid of magical thinking. Through 48 different cases, traumas of the head, neck, arms, and torso are explained in papyrus. Among the therapeutic approaches, wound closure is mentioned. Prevention of infections with honey by stabbing bleeding with raw meat. Immobilization also has been proposed as a therapeutic option for head and cervical spine injuries, as well as for lower body fractures. And papyrus also contains anatomical observations, descriptions of cranial suturas, meninges, cerebrospinal liquids, and intracranial pulsation. The papyrus is thought to have served as a textbook in cases of trauma that most often resulted in military battles. What is interesting to us in the field of dental medicine is how the wounds in the oral cavity was treated. And it is also mentioned that the Egyptians knew how to solve problems of dental abscess, problems with teeth movement and bleeding gingiva and calculus. And doctors were aware of such a poor treatment of dental diseases can lead to death. And therefore, in addition to magical and rituals, they often prepared some medicinal mixtures that were relieving inflammation and pain. Cavities at that time were filled with a mixture of containing flax and a mixture of fig juice or cedar oil. And these all remains were actually confirmed by CT scan on the head of Mali about 2000 years before Christ. And what is also important is Ebers Papyrus, which is considered to be written in 1500 years ago before the Christ, and contains copied text from the period of around 3,400 years before Christ. This document is more magical in character and contains 700 magic formulas and preparations. The text that was written contains sentences that were used in rituals to drive away demons that were considered the cause of the disease. It is also described that the heart is body, and the heart is the center of the body, and every organ is connected to it. And some notable treatments and remedies mentioned in the text include herbal remedies, wound treatment, and many others. Maybe I already mentioned him before, but we have to say once again, because in this period of time, this is the most important thing. The greatest of those who worked with the teeth was the Hasirem. He was actually presented as a first dentist. And this inscription was written on the tomb, on his tomb. And it was written that he was the greatest among those who dealt with teeth and the greatest among physicians. And this is the first mention of dentist. And from his period of time, they found denture on which two holes were discovered, and they thought the investigator were thinking that those two holes were used as a drainage holes for the therapy of abscess. The Middle Age is a period in the history of Europe that lasted from 5th to the 15th century, and it began with the fall of the Western Roman Empire and ended with the emergence of the Renaissance and great geographical discoveries. Medieval texts suggest that dental treatment was largely based on herbal remedies and amulets. Toothache appears to have been a major problem. However, there are references to surgical interventions for oral cancer, as well as the treatment of fractures and dislocation in mandibular fistula. The practice of medicine in the Middle Age was rooted in the Greek tradition. Physicians were trained in the art of diagnosis, often shown in manuscripts holding a urine flask up for inspection or feeling a pulse. Observation, palpation, feeling the pulse, and urine examination would be the tools of the doctor through the Middle Ages. Surgery such as amputation, cauterization, removal of cataracts, dental extraction, and even trepanation, that means the perforating the skull to relieve the pressure on the brain, that was also practicing. Surgeons would have used an opiates for anesthesia for the patients, and many people would have sought out a local healer for care, or might have gone for a barber to be bled or even leeched. Midwives took care of childbirth and childhood ailments. For the sick and dying, there were hospitals. Although many large monasteries did have hospitals attached to them. For example, St. Bartholomew in London, and there were also some in Paris. The medicus in a monastery would have devoted himself to prayer, the laying on hands, exorcising the demons. Some of the most notorious illness of the Middle Age was plague, or the Black Death, how was also called. And from 1346, the plague conquered Europe, and the only hope for those who escaped the disease was prayer or pilgrimage. Leprosy was also sickness or illness that gave very disfiguring symptoms, and sufferers were feared and kept apart, and lepers were obliged to live outside of a town, outside of the village, and to carry a bell to warn people of their approach. Many medieval churches in England have leper squints that allow the leper to see the mass and even receive the sacrament without coming into contact with other parishioners. Many people died of much less dramatic diseases. Women often died in childbirth or postpartum infections. Children frequently did not live into adulthood. And there were what was very frequent and often fatal were battle-related injuries. Barbers or barber surgeon took on the role of dentist, in addition to their many skills due to their expertise, and those people who were suffering from toothaches at that time, the only available and possible intervention that was done is extraction. There were no anesthesia at that time, and there were several rudimentary tools that were used in dentistry, including one very old device that we'll see in some pictures after in the presentation, and it's called dental pelican. and it was used to extract the teeth. And it held that name because of its resemblance to a pelican beak. Herbal remedies for pain were also applied to toothaches through uh, people at that time still did not know for toothbrushes, and they were using rough linen to scrub their teeth. Toothpaste had a was very it was composed of herbals that was made in a mixture that they put in the paste. Treatments for toothaches were largely passed down through apprenticeship with barbers who formed guilds in several European countries. Less commonly, the more academic physicians would teach some theories in exchange for political support. Before they split to form separate companies in 1745, barbers were effectively one entity, and they were responsible for a range of services relating to care of the body. These were effectively the general practitioners. They were responsible for administrating and they were responsible for patching up wounds, for tending broken limbs, letting blood, and also pulling teeth. And beside their main role, like what are the barbers are actually doing, and it is cutting hair and shaving. In that middle time period, there we also know for the middle age top surgeons. Yes, and what is important is that the toothworm is still taken as one of the theories of the origin of dental disease. Bloodletting, as I said, is used for certain types of toothaches. The Arab medicine was the most advanced, and the Al-Razi is called and is presented to be one of the greatest Persian physicians, and he suggested dental hygiene and brushing after every meal. Abdul Qaziz, that was also a doctor at that time in Arab world. He was not only a physician, but he was also a surgeon and a chemist, and he was considered to be the greatest surgeon of the medieval period. He is remembered for his book Al Tsarif, which is the encyclopedia on medicine and surgery, and is often referred to be a father of modern surgery. He pioneered several instruments that would serve as a foundation for the creation of the modern tools that we use today. And because of these innovative dental devices, dentists now are able to provide more comfortable way to treat some of the dental issues. What is also interesting about Abdul Qaziz is that he said that, and he realized that irregular or protruding teeth was also a big problem for women in society. And he stressed the importance of recognizing that these issues can can be early detected and properly treated, and can be prevented from getting worse. In the late Middle Ages and Renaissance, health crises were frequent due to trade routes spreading diseases. The bubonic plague, or Black Death, returned to Europe in 1348, killing around 25 million people. Contrary to popular beliefs, baths and sanitation didn't vanish after Rome fell. They only declined in popularity during the Renaissance due to the fears of disease transmissions through water. Key medical advancements begin in the Renaissance by Girolamo Fracastoro, because he proposed that diseases are caused by external agents. Andreas Vesalius, who published a detailed anatomy book in 1543, William Harvey, who explained blood circulation in 1628, and Leonardo da Vinci, who we see here by Vitruvi Man, because he contributed anatomy through detailed drawings. The great icons of that period are two of them I already mentioned, and I will say a little bit more about Ambroise Paré. He was a French military physician, and he was born in 1510. And he actually revived the ancient Greek method of litigation of blood vessels. After amputation, the usual procedure was to cauterize the open wounds to stop the bleeding. This was done by applying heated oil, boiling water, or glowing metal to the wound to close the blood vessels. Paré also believed that injuries should be bandaged with clean bandages and fats, including self-made fat consisting of eggs, rose oil, and turpentine. Andreas Vesalius was considered as the founder of modern anatomy, had profoundly changed not only human anatomy, but also the intellectual structure of medicine. The impact of his scientific revolution can be recognized even today, and he had made great achievements. And he explained that the teeth are sensitive to pain because of the nerves entering their roots. One of the most important figure in modern dentistry and modern dental medicine, who totally put away these beliefs of tooth in worm that produce caries, is Pierre Fauchard. He was born in 17th century, in the late 17th century, and he was a French physician, known, as I said, as the father of modern dentistry, due to his expansion upon medieval dental practices. In dental field, he was famous for authoring the book that was called The Surgeon Dental, The Surgeon Dentist, or The Chirurgien Dentiste, what was the first comprehensive dentistry book. This book was published in 1728, and this book described the function of oral anatomy, oral pathology, methods for removing decay, ways to restore teeth, the definition of periodontal disease, orthodontics, replacement of missing teeth, and tooth transplants. Here he referred himself as a surgical dentist because in medieval times, teeth were extracted rather than treated. He treated dental cavities with dental fillings, which he was with that he was the first in Europe, and he recognized the sugar and its derivative acids, like the one are to be in blame for caries if it's not treated. And he pioneered also in dental prosthesis, investigated methods to replace lost teeth. And his ideas also include some parts of first orthodontics, because he was using wire or thread and first dental braces to reline the teeth. Pierre's major contribution to dentistry was his invention of braces, that is mentioned in one book. And the earliest version of his smile straightened creation were made of gold and fastened to the teeth using silk or waxed linen. The Chirurgien Dentiste book had 3 editions. As I said, the first edition was in 1728. And it had surgical, preventive, prosthetics, orthodontics, knowledges of that time and instructions on the using of instruments. He was also very known not only because of the book and new way of thinking, but also the invention of a very variety of surgical instruments. Like, for example, we see here. This is a pelican that I already mentioned before. That was that was used in the Middle Ages for extraction. And Pierre Fauchard also did some microsurgical instruments at that time for the treatment of gingiva. And some of the main highlights from his book that I also translated and wrote here in this slide. Okay, so let's move to 19th century and the in the first half of 19th century was what is the most important is actually the development of dental colleges in Europe and in the United States, where that was enrolled also with our people. What is the most important thing to emphasize is that Baltimore College of Dental Surgery was the first one in the world. And it started in 1840. In 1855, the first school of dental medicine was in Germany, and it was opened in the ophthalmology clinic in Berlin. After that came in England in 1858, London Dental Hospital, Philadelphia Dental College, in 1884, the School of Dental Medicine in Leipzig, and so on and so on. In the 19th century, the rise of dentistry was of particular importance, especially with its own specialists and techniques and standards. The emphasis on dental care shifted from simply removing painful teeth to trying to avoid extraction by filling cavities. At the end of the century, preventive dentistry was looking for ways to prevent the development of cavities. And 19th century dentists were the first professional to use anesthetic. I will just put a short video that I found also that we can all watch together.
Ow! Been eating too many sweets without brushing, huh? Fact is, you've got a toothache and it's time to visit the dentist. Are the rumors true? Nothing can be done and you're about to lose a tooth? Are you going to be tied down? Are you going to be offered some whiskey?
Maybe you ought to have another swig, Frank.
Is some quack of a doctor going to approach you with a pair of pliers? The answer is no, thank goodness. Come on, it's 1904, and luckily many advances have been made since the strap, shot, pull days. Besides, although nylon floss won't be around until the 1940s, toothbrushes, silk floss, toothpaste, and toothpicks are now mass-produced and nationally distributed, so you have no excuse for not brushing your teeth. Remember, prevention is the key. Besides, don't worry, because by now, dentists are fully trained professionals. The quack in front of you is actually educated, and he knows what he's doing.
I'm still pretty nervous.
It's only natural that you would feel anxious and slightly scared. That's all right. Way back in 1844, Horace Wells discovered that nitrous oxide, or laughing gas, can be used to calm your nerves. He's giving you a dose of it right now. Breathe deeply. Now, it won't take away the pain of an extraction, don't get me wrong. It will only calm you down.
Won't take away the pain? Wait a minute. What's that thing?
Now the dentist is putting a strange machine over your face. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. Don't worry, this is newfangled. It's a high-tech device known as an X-ray machine. They've only been used in dentistry since 1896, but it will help your dentist to tell if he really needs to pull the tooth. After a quick review of the X-ray, it's confirmed you need to lose the tooth. Here comes the extractor. Not some run-of-the-mill farmer's pliers caked with dirt and oil, but a precision tool made to actually fit over your tooth. There are even different sizes, each depending on which tooth needs to be extracted.
Hey, what about the pain?
Even though the laughing gas has made you more calm, this is going to hurt unless there's some kind of anesthetic applied. Don't worry, your dentist has a healthy supply of the great anesthetic used in dentistry since 1884, cocaine.
Look at those pretty colors.
Between the nitrous oxide and the cocaine, you really have no more worries. Now the tooth comes out without a hitch. Problem solved. That wasn't too bad now, was it?
Thanks, Doc.
Okay, so let's move forward. We are now in development of dentistry in Croatia. In the past, Croatia was often divided by a foreign national system, and therefore developed under the influence of such foreign systems. The interior of the country was for centuries under the influence of the Austro-Hungarians, and a part of the country was under the influence of Turks. On the other hand, the coastal area was under the influence of Phoenicians, the French, and the Austrians. This all had a strong influence on the regional development of health culture in Croatia, and consequently also dental medicine. In 1777, Dubrovnik established its first dental medical service with a dental care component, led by Gaetano Pierini, who was Italian dentist. And during this time, rural dental care often relied on barbers and self-taught individuals due to the lack of trained physicians. By the 19th century, seasonal dentists with very varied training and qualification, both foreign and Croatian, practiced in major cities like Zagreb and Zadar, and they were also advertising their services in local newspapers. Dental care was limited and was primarily focused on extractions and pain relief, often using plant or animal-based remedies. In the late 19th century, an increasing number of Croatian doctors pursued dental specialization at universities abroad and in the cities like Vienna, Graz, and Philadelphia. And Croatian dentists trained in the US, like, for example, Mate Živović and Niko Živović, and they became a prominent, very prominent dentists. After in Croatia. Specialization within dental medicine began in 1959, including fields such as maxillofacial surgery and jaw orthopedics and prosthesis. And by the 1970s, these specialties had expanded to cover oral surgery, orthodontics, children dentistry, prosthesis, and periodontology with oral medicine. Dental education dental education in the late 19th century, an increasing number of Croatian doctors dental education formally began in 1922 with the founding of the dental department of dental medicine in the medical school in Zagreb. That was led by Edward Radošević, who was directing the clinic for over 30 years. And this department evolved into an independent school of dental medicine in 1962 with Živko Bolf as the first dean. In Rijeka, the dental program was established in 1973, and it was established by Professor Radimir Tavčar and others. And Other professor who also had given a very great contribution were Branimir Maricic and Jure Hraste. This was the building of today's dental medicine study of dental medicine, or today's faculty of dental medicine. And the historical, it was this historical Rijeka Lazaret. It was built between 1722 and 1725, and it served as a quarantine facilities for seafarers, and later it became very significant institution for dental education and practice. What else I want to emphasize is the research, publication, and professional societies. We know that dental research has been active in Croatia over a century, and we have Folia Stomatologica, Acta Stomatologica Croatia, and Croatian Dental Herald. And they have been very crucial for professional communication. The Society of Dental Dentists, it was founded in 1903 and became the Croatian Dental Society, and later in 1995, Croatian Dental Chamber. Croatia joined the international dental community in 1992 with membership in FDI, which is World Dental Federation of Dental Medicine. And despite significant advancements, dental caries remains a prevalent issue, highlighting ongoing public health challenges in dental care. Croatian Dental Society, since its foundation, has been associated, has changed her name, and it's forced to change name, as I wrote here. So it was first called the Section of Dental Doctors, Društvo stomatologa Savske Banovine Croacije, Society of Dental Section, and finally Croatian Dental Society. And the activities related to continuous professional development and encouragement of preventive actions and publicity. And in 1992, with the international recognition of Croatia, it became a member of FDA umbrella organization. This was a part of 14th anniversary of the study of dental medicine in Rijeka, where we also had first International Student Congress of Rijeka. And for the last part of the presentation, I would just like to say something a little bit more about toothbrushes, toothpaste, and dental dentures. And I will just, at the end of the presentation, I'll put one video that I found on internet that I find very interesting. And if you will need any kind of questions to be answered, you can send me on my email after that I will write at the end of the presentation. Okay, I will write here. So what can we say about the brushes through the history? They were an integral part of the daily routine among different cultures, and the goal has always been to maintain the health of the oral cavity. There were very different ways, materials, and designs of brushes, and before the first written materials, archaeological findings indicated the use of various bones, twigs that people at the time were using for cleaning their mouth. In old Egypt and Babylon, in 3,500 years ago, they found in pharaonic tombs twigs that, due to their aromatic effect, they found very great interest, and they were very widespread among that population of that time. In the Middle East, mishwak, that is today mentioned in the Quran, was used to brush the teeth, and they were also chewing it. But the first prototype of toothbrush was made by Chinese in 13th century, and they had a horse hair that was mounted on a pig's bone or bamboo. And Chinese in the 15th century used toothbrushes made of boar hair. In Europe, for example, they worked with a small linen cloth that was drowned in the salt solution, that was neither sufficiently hygienic or, like, for example, the previously mentioned Eastern way. And